Welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name's Ruben and this is my review for Kengan Ashura Season 4 or Season 2 Part 2 or, according to Netflix, Season 3. Nevertheless, we have new episodes of Kengan Ashura. In fact, we have 16 new episodes to finish up the main fighting tournament arc that we've been going on. And yes, we do finally get to that final. We get to see the match. There's only a few matches that we get in this, but let's talk about whether it's actually worth continuing to jump in and finish it. Were you impressed with the last few episodes? Did you like this anime fighting style? Even though I thought sometimes there was barely any animation, I might have changed my mind about this lot of episodes. So let's jump in. This anime has always been a bit hit or miss for me, but I was surprised by how much I think the animation style has improved. Not that it doesn't do the same thing that it usually does, and what it has been doing is basically between the flashbacks to the characters that we know that are fighting, whichever fight you're busy watching, whichever moment you're watching, whether it's the semi-finals or working your way up into the finals, there's always this narration of every single move that the fighters are doing. However, this time we do get to see more of the fight sequences. Just in the first fight, you'll notice that there's a lot of grappling UFC type of moves mixed in with other type of martial arts that they talk about, and you get to hear the narration and see it at the same time. And I was so glad for that, because a lot of the previous episodes, as well as animes like Bagihama, they do these stills, like moving stills, where you don't get to watch the animation. Instead, it's like a still that they've moved, and then you have to picture it with the narration. Thankfully, this time it feels like you get to watch a lot more of the fight sequences. However, they still do that. It's not really a trope, it's just their formula, where during each match takes 3 to 4 episodes, depending on the match, because you get these flashback sequences of what the characters have gone through, what their training has been, and who they are. And normally I would get a little bit irritated with this. However, this time round, there's the main arc of our main protagonist that we get to know a lot about. We get to have all those answers to the questions that we'd had for a while, and it answers that through flashbacks. So even though a lot of the flashbacks aren't animated, or they aren't animated to the style of what we're experiencing in the fight sequences, because that's where all their budgets and movement is going in, we get a lot of background story that really adds to what we're experiencing in the fights. The narration is still there with the flashbacks, and we get answers to how they learned this particular set of moves, or this particular martial arts, or this particular sacred art move or demon move, as they have all these flamboyant names for the martial arts. And as always, our characters are still putting their bodies on the line, so much so that if they continue fighting, they may die. But the flashbacks do something really interesting with these 16 episodes. They actually really give, I guess, credence to what's going on in the story. And the story is still, it's just a fighting animation, but because we have all that background, you understand what the stakes are. It's not just the company heads that will be changing, that's what's on the line for the big people with the big money, but the players themselves, the fighters themselves with their martial arts, they all have their own reasons for being there, and that really plays out well on screen with these latter 16 episodes. I think they've done a really good job at completing almost all the storylines, the major ones, the ones that are important, bringing forth a fruition in a really wholesome way, which I was surprised by. When we get to that last episode, it is, not doing spoilers, it goes in a place I wasn't expecting, but it feels right for the story. It is somewhat sad, but it is also somewhat what I expected them to do, but I also didn't expect to have any emotions tied to these characters, because I was never one that went, yeah, this is a great fighting animation. This is a great fighting anime. I know loads better. But I was surprised how much I think, or maybe I was just in the mood for this, that these 16 episodes did well to draw me back into what we get to see on screen, and the multiple martial arts that is the combination of what you get to see with the violence and the grotesqueness of the fights. And sometimes you think, well, maybe they should stop that because they're gonna die. That all is showcased beautifully on screen, with those flashbacks actually given nice padding rather than stretching out the episodes just for the sake of it. Sometimes in the previous episodes it did feel like that. This time, however, I think it added a bunch to the storyline. I'd love to know who your favorite character has been in this. What was your favorite fight in the anime as a whole? I do think that this is the final. I don't think there's any reason to kind of pick it up. They could with different characters, but our main characters are kind of done now. It's wonderful to think of where these characters have gone and where they came from and where they ended up. There's a nice trajectory and arc. I think that kind of some of the mistakes, I don't know if there was mistakes, but more like irritations for me that the first season had and the first half of this second season had. I think they managed to kind of twist it all around and going, here's the answers, here's what you kind of wanted to see, and here's the rest of the money. Because they knew it was coming to an end, they could throw everything on screen and kind of really have fun with that story, answer those questions, and give us some great fight sequences. So much so that I went from not really caring about these characters just as to, you know, wanting to skip all the talk in between and just watching the fighting on screen, to actually watching all the talk between each episode and really getting invested in some of those characters, especially our main protagonist. So all in all, I think it finished off really strongly. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this time round. I think I'm going to give this 3.75 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
You got one.
I was probably starting at 2.5 when I first started reviewing these, but as the fighting anime has progressed and we've come to know the characters, maybe I'm a bit biased towards it because this particular second season, or the second part of this second season, didn't have to draw on or establish anything. They could just kind of go running and finish up their tournament arc. So I always love tournament arcs. I think they're a lot of fun. You can do a lot with them, but they do fall into anime tropes. This time round, I was surprised by one which they didn't fall into, so I have to give that to another feather in its quiver. I thought they finished this well, and I'm excited to see what people think of this. If you're still watching, just because you've watched it, you're there now. Sometimes you watch stuff because you've watched it for so long, even though you know it's not good, and then it surprises you. Maybe it is part of that I went in with low expectations and came out on the other end going, oh, that was far better than I expected it to be. So let me know your favorite character in this, your favorite fight. Chat in the comments down below. What did you think about the ending? Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.